Hey there, it's Kelsey, your best friend on the homestead here at our Rough and Tumble farmhouse. And we have been using for our garden fence for the last, I think we are going on year, this is our 8th year here. I think we put it in our 2nd summer. So we have been using snow fence as our garden fence for 7 years. And so when I went to do this myself, there wasn't a lot of information about using snow fence as garden fence. And so I thought I'd just kind of show you what it looks like. I don't have a video of us putting it up. My husband and his best friend at the time who lived nearby put it up for me, which was very nice of them. But I thought I'd just kind of show you and talk pros and cons of this type of fence. Okay, so as you can see, this is just snow fence that we got, I think, at Home Depot, I want to say. It was $50 a roll at the time. And here, I'll kind of lift you up. It's a little bit hard to see here. You can possibly hear me over my ducks who are concerned about something right now. Anyway, it took 2 rolls of garden fence to do this, and I will put whatever the dimensions are in the comments. And there was enough extra. We have a little raspberry patch over here as well. So it did kind of that extra little section. And then I think I do have some more left in the barn. Now, personally, I really like the look of this, especially right now. It is early spring. Everything looks a little bit stark. But once you do have things growing around the fence and on the fence, it actually gives me kind of like a cottagecore sort of a vibe. So let's talk about kind of pros of this fence is, of course, affordability and ease of putting it up. So the cost of putting up was, again, about $100 for the 2 rolls of fence. And then you do have to invest in T-posts. I don't recommend using sort of those U-shaped ones or anything. They're too flimsy. So you want to have actual T-posts. And these are the shorter ones. You don't need anything too overly ambitious. But here, these pickets, even though they're kind of fading, which I personally kind of like the patina, these are still really, really sturdy. Even down here on the ground, they are really sturdy and holding their own really very well. Now, in a few places where they have broken, let's see, I'll show you here, they are pretty easy to replace. So let's walk around here. I also use just a chunk of it as my, the ducks, of course, are in here right now, but I also use a chunk of this just as my garden gate here. I just kind of stick it underneath this cattle panel that we use as an arbor, and it works great just as a really easy to move gate as well. I will say a downside to this sort of fencing is the wire that's on it here is something that I'm constantly kind of monitoring, keeping an eye out for. If you have kids or even for yourself, getting snagged on these things, they are pretty sharp, of course. So watching out for little eyes and scratches on yourself and stuff, just kind of be aware of that. So the pickets do eventually, some of them will break because this isn't, of course, super, high quality. One of the things that is kind of essential to having it look nice is to having it tight and taut as you put it up. As you can see, we have some kind of sloopiness, and that was where the 2 fences happened to meet. Wasn't where they had put a T-post, and I've just never gone back and fixed that. So they kind of just attach them to each other, which is why we have it kind of loose through there. So that's something that could be pretty easily fixed, but just something to keep in mind as you are laying it out. So one thing that's nice about it, you have plenty of places to hang stuff as you need to, so you don't lose your egg baskets if your garden happens to be by your chicken coop. So here you can see, here again is sort of the sloopy area where just kind of the 2 fences overlap, which honestly, because I do need to replace some pickets, I might just trim out this overlap piece and just stick it in storage and use those as replacement pickets. So for example here, you can see I do not know how this got wiggled up, but so this one is broke on the bottom. And then what I'm just going to do is I'm not going to replace this whole picket because most of it's still good. My main concern with this is keeping out the chickens and, of course, the ducks who are in there having the time of their lives right now. So I'll just show you really simply what I do if I have a broken picket. Like I said, I have extra fence. So this chicken's just waltzing right in. I do have extra fence where I can just pull one of the pickets from the extra fence and put it right in there. Or in this case, we're just going to slide it down. So all the way up the fence pickets here, there are stretches of wire. You can't see the one up here, but they just run across like this. And so for this one, I'm literally just going to grab up. Can't really see my hands here, but I'm just kind of grabbing up top. You can see all the different kind of rings is what I think of them as. And I just kind of grab at the top, wiggle at the bottom, and then just slide it down to fill the gap. And so same thing with this one that's broken here. I'm just gonna line it up. See, there's the hole there. Just gonna get it in the hole and then just slide it down. Just like that. And so, hey, Poppy. And so just like that, I have filled the gap. And so at the top, it's gonna be a little bit shorter, but honestly, I don't really notice it and I honestly don't really mind. So if you have a picket that's just beat to crap, basically, you just pull the whole picket out and slide a fresh one, assuming you have a little bit of extra fence laying around, extra pickets, you just slide a fresh one in. And so every once in a while, I will have to do that to make some adjustments if some get broken. But again, I don't have stuff going over the top that's a real concern for me. So if that is an issue for you, I mean, I think deer could clear this thing if they were hungry enough. Well, deer obviously could clear this thing if they really wanted to and were hungry enough. But for the most part, I haven't had an issue with that. Oh, so here's another picket right here. Again, and this one, I'm just gonna push on the top. So there, that one now doesn't even reach up here, but again, doesn't really bother me because it's achieving what I mostly need it to. Now, the only downside I would say to the cedar fence pickets is they are definitely not rodent proof or rabbit proof. We definitely have had bunnies in here causing issues. And so what I typically have done with that, or started doing with that, is I got some of those Dollar General mesh wire waste paper baskets. And I just put it over my seedlings because I think they're like $1 a piece. And then here, let me just grab them and show you. So these are the baskets that I got from, I think it was Dollar General. And they were, at least last year, I think they were a little over $1 a piece. And so they're not anything too exciting here. If I can get them out, here we go. So it's just a little thin wire basket. Some people get fancy and hot glue like a knob on top of it, which to me is kind of, it's one more thing to do and it costs more money. They're effective without a little fancy knob on top. But anyway, so these were a little over $1 a piece. I put them on the plant until it gets kind of, too big for the cage. And at that point, I find the rabbits leave the plants alone because then they are mature and not as tasty as kind of like a new green fresh thing. Or some other sort of bunny proofing you'd have to do just to try and keep them out of here. You could do, just like a chicken wire around that individual bed. If you have something where it's a lot of a plant, like a green bean or a pea or something. Or you could do along the bottom, of this whole thing, a chicken wire or something else that rabbits aren't going to be able to get through as easily. Now, overall, I think that this makes a really affordable garden fence. Again, we put this up, so it was $100 for the fence, and I have in here 12 raised beds, and they are just shy of 4 feet by 6 feet. We did the whole cedar fence picket thing for our post here, or for our raised beds here. And so it's a pretty decent sized garden, as you can tell. Again, I'll put the dimensions on. So in terms of getting a fence up in the space of, if you got a couple people helping you, a couple hours or less is pretty impressive. And for doing it for, I'd say, easily less than $300. And I actually like the look of it. I think it makes for a pretty nice fence. If you have any questions at all, I'm happy to answer below. But otherwise, if you need an affordable and quick option for your garden this year, consider using Snow Fence. I will put a link to some other videos that you might like if this was interesting and helpful to you. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see you here next week for more from our Rough and Tumble farmhouse.